So anymore, cell phones are just minor, or just miniature computers. So previously, we had adopted a whole technology policy which covers computers, radios, phones, everything, and cell phones, and social media. So my thought is to bring this before you, have you look at it, see if you want us to adopt this. This will cover at least one part that the auditor wants, but I think it will also cover what we need to look at. We're also hiring an IT firm to have this in place. This kind of regulation will help the city. So this is another policy. I got more coming.
Okay.
And so this would cover use of personal cell phones for city business?
This is using city cell phones or personal cell phones.
Okay, applies to both.
Personal cell phone, you can do your personal stuff. What we say in this, though, is if it's a city cell phone, you do. Your personal cell phone is, if you use it, it opens you up to being able to have people subpoena it and look at everything that's in there.
What about some of our city employees that we pay a stipend to cover their cell phone bill?
And they'd rather just do that instead of having a city cell phone.
But I mean, are they still subject to?
Yeah. Yeah, there's still things that they need to make sure, but there's more freedom. We just don't, it'd be the same as, we don't want you on your cell phone all the time, doing your Facebook and your texting and all that. You need to work. But it's different if it's on your personal cell phone, you know, it's a break time. So, I mean, look through it, if you got any questions. Okay, other thing that came up, open burning. I had a number of calls on that after the storm that we had on the 23rd, on July 23rd, and whether we could allow open burning without permits, whether there was an issue of something going on. You're losing it? Anyway, so I asked Mark to come up with an ordinance, because the way the ordinance is now, the way it's in the ordinance book, is that you can only do it twice a year. You've limited yourself as a board, probably not this group, but a previous group. So by trying to waive that at any time you want, you can't do that. Here's the parameters. So if you want to rewrite that, to make that where it is open, that you can waive that fee in case of another storm, this kind of lays out that information on how to do that. Whether we get enough storms to do that, I don't know, but you know, it seems like we're getting one heavy rain a year at least. And people are looking to figure out what to do with their limbs instead of trying to figure out how to get them to the dump. They want to just burn them in their yard. So this will give you the option of, we could then at a meeting say, all right, we're waiving the fees, you still have to follow the rules and regulations, we need for you to submit a permit because the fire chief needs to know that you're going to be burning, you need to know what the regulations are, but you know, do it, you know, you don't have a time limit, it's not 10 days, or I think it's 10 days on a regular, or 7 days on a regular, on a regular permit, so you know, go at it when you have time, but don't do it when the wind's more than 10 miles an hour, and keep it away from the building so far, and keep it away from your neighbors so far, that kind of stuff. If you want to, you know, change it just that way. Now, you could also eliminate March and November, and then just whenever you want to make it that way, you can do that, and Mark can redo this whole section of that part of the code to make it read that way. So when you hit March and November, yeah, we're going to waive it for a month when you're burning leaves, and when you're burning your spring garbage, not your fossil garbage, but your yard waste. But you'd have the option to do that. Then you don't have to worry about just doing it twice a year. And then whenever it's a storm, because we've now limited also to storms.
Right.
Yeah. So does that make any sense, or?
Yeah.
Did the fire chief have any input?
Just let him know when we're going to be doing this, so that he understands what the policy is, and just to keep the permits in play so that people know what the rules and regulations are.
So he would prefer permits but waiving the fee?
Right.
And would there be some sort of you can do this online? I mean, it's $1, so I'm assuming it's not the cost of it is the issue, it's the accessibility.
Right, right. Now, if you would want to just waive the permit, or the, getting the permit, then we just need to let the chief know when we're going to start and stop this, and that we've put the rules and regulations out there, and he'd also pass them on.
I don't know if repealing the permit or the cost, but definitely having the opportunity to do it more than just those two time frames, to me would be important, but
I agree.
I mean, the dollar thing is, and maybe if we could do it online and stuff and not have the dollar thing, I mean, we are the age of technology, and
I think it might get to the point, I mean, I know I've seen a lot of questions on social media. Is it open burning right now? When's open burning start? Like, I don't feel like, and maybe that's a communication issue, but I feel like if we are gonna make changes to something that's been established, we've gotta really step up our communication, so people know.
right.
We have to declare it, or you still have to get a permit. I think that's gotta be really clear.
Right.
It makes me a little nervous getting rid of the permit, because then it could be, I don't know. I've heard from some people who just don't like it when it's open burning, because they're sensitive. People are sensitive to that. And so I would hate to see us, grant that open burning and real often, and then a lot of citizens are upset about that.
There's just a lot of people that don't have the means to be able to transport, the waste over to the burn site. I mean, I've seen the back end of cars full of weeds and, that type of thing. But I mean, they may be able to take a couple of trash bags of leaves, but I mean, they can't take the larger stuff
Mike.
over there. It's just, I don't know, I think some changes might be good, but I think having a permit so we know who, where, and when might be okay for the rest of the year, but
And I
the
think
permit,
that's why they set it up in the 2 months they did, because of spring cleaning and leaves in the fall. And then they didn't want that to then become a problem in the middle, when people were saying, yeah, I want to do open burning because of whatever happened, which we had a bad storm.
the biggest objection I hear to the open burning is the leaves in a subdivision type of environment and stuff where it's smoking everybody up, and that's not real pleasant and stuff. But when it comes to storms and stuff, to be able to get rid of it, I mean, I've seen numerous fires already, and that's why I brought it up to you and stuff. I don't like it 2 times a year only, I guess, because who knows when something's going to happen.
Right, right. And then the board would say, we have open burning, you don't have to get a permit for these 2 weeks. And then that's it. And they have to be done by then. If we would then burn after that, the fire chief would know that he would need to respond to a burning complaint and take whatever action he needs to.
Didn't we always do open burning for a month?
Yeah, but it's been longer than that too, many times.
Yeah.
Usually a month at a time, yeah.
Right.
And folks still have the option of coming in and getting a burn permit.
Right.
Right, because a permit can be done anytime during the year.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Anytime you come in and get a permit, I've gotten permits, it's never been a problem.
Is that issued for a 2-week period or?
7 days.
There's 7 days.
7 days?
Might not be long enough.
Yeah, that's true.
And I personally like the permit because it's got everything, it still has everything on it, right? Here are the rules, here are your dates. And I
No
think
other
it's-
debris other than.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly, because there have been a few incidents lately with people burning
Right.
things other than yard waste. So,
Yeah, I had it.
So does with the permit, I know the form is online, they can print it out and fill it out. Are they able to like scan it and send it to you, or do they have to physically be here? I guess there's $1 cost, so I guess they typically just pay with a $1 bill.
There is a box that's on the south end of the walkway. They could attach their dollar, put it in an envelope, stuff it in that box, and then we issue the permit. We just
How
email it
much
back to
money are
them.
we collecting with that $1?
Not very much.
And
I said, why don't we just waive it?
Yeah, I think we need to do
At one
away
time,
with the
they raised
dollar.
it to $5 and we got complaints that it was
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
So they changed it back to
I
$1.
mean, if it's
probably-
not that much, I mean, it's
Yeah.
really not gonna kill our revenues.
Well, it probably costs more just in
Right.
count,
Yeah,
It's
just
too-
filing
It's
everything.
inconvenient.
And
I
that would be
think if
even
we could make
better
it
if somebody
online,
could-
then we wouldn't have to
Right.
worry about it.
Because,
In July, I'm
but
sorry,
you go ahead.
in July, we only had collected $11.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but then you're having to go
So-
through and add it in and all that stuff
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
Because one thing that I look at with this is the event of an emergency, like, you know, we saw it on some scale, was that last month when the straight line winds came in? But we're seeing it in Iowa, and what happened there is just devastation. And so, you know, my cousin's neighborhood was hit, and some of my family went up there to help clean up, and just the cleanup is, well, unimaginable for what I've seen. But, you know, what do we do in an emergency situation when these people are blocked in on the roads and stuff like that? I just want to make sure that they can do the cleanup without any extra hassle in those types of situations.
Well, if we have a roadblock, we usually take care of that, don't we, Gary? We clear the right of way.
Yeah.
I think waiving the fee altogether,
Yeah.
having the opportunity to do it, you know, multiple times a year is a key, but, and two, to be able to do it online, and two, to communicate it openly when we have open burning, you know, through whatever means we have.
Yep. I agree.
But the permits, you know, just so everybody knows who, what, where, and when, I think are helpful also, but waive the dollar, get rid of it.
Yeah.
So that waive the dollar, and they can email it in if they
Yeah,
want?
yeah,
Permit.
yeah, we would still just process it as a, you know, and send them back whatever is approved. Yes, sir.
Chief, you're probably not gonna like this, but right now, your officers can issue permits up in the park for pavilion use, correct?
No, those go through,
They'll still go to the city, because I know at one time that police,
we sign off on the application, but the application actually goes through, if there's alcohol, my understanding.
I mean, years ago, the city police used to issue the pavilion permits.
Yeah, that goes through City Hall now.
Okay, so if it's an accessibility issue that people can't get here to do it at 5 o'clock, I mean, there's no way they can obtain a permit through a different avenue like that?
In that case, they could pay for it online, but I don't think we've had any issues.
Talking pavilion or burning?
No, the burning. Because I was under the understanding that the park pavilions were still done through the police department, which apparently not, but.
Which if it were police, it'd be almost whatever hours the chief would work to sign off on permits, right? Is that what you're getting
Or they
at?
could come by and inspect the burn location before the permit is, you know, we're issuing a blind permit here, not knowing exactly where on the property they're burning, which granted that would probably fall under the fire department, but.
The police, I'll tell you what, when I've burned before, I've had 2 times when I got burn permits to do it in my neighborhoods, the police department were the ones that come and check my permit. They're the ones that enforced it and checked it. I was
If
told.
they get a complaint, they're not just
No,
gonna
no,
stop
they
by.
checked, yeah, well, he saw the fire and he stopped and he said, do you have a permit? Twice that's happened. So the police do enforce that and look at the permit. Make sure you have it. In my case, it did. Not every time, but a couple times.
I mean, with the permitting now, is there any pre-check on that with the burn location?
No, but it does state how close it
Yeah.
has to be to water and the
Which
wind
they'd
conditions.
still see that filing the online form, right? Yeah.
Right. That's, they'll get all that information.
I think I'd go along with Bob to waive the fee.
Not just waive it, get rid of it.
Well, that's what I mean.
So we get rid of the fee,
Yeah.
you still want the option of making an exception if there's a bad storm?
I'd like to see that option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. have that option in a bed, and that was very isolated, that case. And anytime you.
Hey, Dave, Abby,
Yeah.
somebody, hey guys. So how is that affected by a burn pit, a fire pit, that's like an enclosed fire pit, like a recreational fire, or how does that come into play?
Separate section of the ordinances, those are allowed as recreational fires. That's totally, those are allowed. It's not an issue as long as it's kept in the fire pit or in the enclosure. That can be done at any time, doesn't require a permit.
There you go.
All right, well, thanks.
Okay. We got an ordinance coming now?
Yeah, I sent it to our attorney and let him get the language correct.
Good.
Could we, sorry, I know we're about to move on, could we maybe come up with identifying when, if we do declare that and when these changes come through, identifying consistent places where we are going to put out that message? So that if people are wondering where do I look to find out if it's open burning, they know a specific place on our website, they know which social media page, they know there will be an ad in the paper or no, not necessarily.
All the above.
Yeah,
I think it's even on the TV.
Yeah.
Puts it out also.
Yeah, I think Don takes care of
I
that.
think we would want to do that as a policy, not as an ordinance.
Right, that's what I mean, I'm just hoping that to go along with these changes, we can effectively say, if and when we do this, here's how people will know, and it remains consistent.
So Dave wants to hang a flag up on the front of the building that, it's okay to burn.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
sorry.
smoke signals.
We could dress
I
Mr.
like
Bull
that.
up like Smokey the Bear.
Yeah, we can have that out front. Burn today if you wish.
Yeah, have him out there with it.
You hear this, Dave? They're picking out your Smoky the
I like
Bear.
the flag, because if the flag's flying, it's too, no, you gotta put something on it.
Let's get us a city torch up there and light it when it's.
I like that.
Dave holding the torch. In a Smoky the Bear outfit.
They'd be going crazy.
You know, it's a high.
We didn't see that.
Yeah,
Love
they got one out there.
That's all it
Okay, so this is almost like the last one we passed out. The only change that I've made is
Thanks.
we've gotten the,
Thank you.
we've gotten the plans back for the wall on Washington Street. So I'm going back to my original estimate of what I thought that thing was going to cost, because there's a lot of street work that we're gonna have to work on, and also some curbing that we need to take care of. So I have increased that up to 65,000 for our, that would come out of our capital projects. It's highlighted in yellow. I'm hoping it's not that much, but just based on all that I've seen that needs to be corrected with that, with the wall still, we're figuring about 27, 28,000, but that the street could cost a little bit more, and the new curbing that goes in is gonna cost a little bit more, because we need to extend it further down so that there's no water getting into Ms. Roth's house. We've gotta keep that away, let it get to the street, and then it can go down into storm sewers. So, tonight, we need to make some decisions so that we can, or we meet again, because we need to bring you a finished budget on September 10th. That would be your first reading, unless you want to talk about it again on the 10th, and then you have to read it twice on the 24th. So these are the same numbers, again, except for the bottom one on capital projects. These are the same numbers on the items that we are looking at getting approval on. We can go through them one at a time. Let me know yes or no. However you want to do it. How about if we'll just go down the list. We looked at, for legislative, what I'm saying is the PIVA building sale. That was, a total of $650,000, so we're pulling half of that out for this year. I'd like to try to pull half of that out for next year. So that's $325,000. Are you all good with that? For administration, we're looking at website and computers. It's going to total about $36,000. We haven't decided how we want to pursue that yet, but we'll need that total amount, whether we go with an IT group or if we go separately with the website and computers, and then just have another company monitor what we're doing. That would just be on a monthly type fee like we're doing now with CBSI. So is the 28,000 and 8,000 okay with this board?
Yes.
For the police, they are looking at 2 vehicles, and these vehicles will be outfitted. 2 SUVs, $96,000. That's part of our lease program. Are we good with the 2 vehicles? And then let's do the vehicles first. Any more questions on that? I know you had some questions of the chief, but I think that they may have all been answered. We're trying to keep the cars in rotation, new and under warranty. Keep that system going. That seems to be working pretty well, and it keeps us from having a large line item for repairs.
Yes.
They're all good? Okay. Police remodel, we're looking at 51,000 coming out of general fund, a total of 261,000. The other portion of it would be coming out of our debt service line item. We'll cover that. Are you okay with pulling some out of general fund, or is that going to give people heartburn?
Is there anywhere else it could come from?
No. No, sorry. No. I picked the best spot.
One thing I'd like to add to that, Happy, is, we keep calling this a police remodel or a police thing only, and it's not. Some of these expenses in this are going to affect the overall city hall. I think everybody just needs to be aware of that. This is just not a police department number. This is not just
That's a good
for
point.
the police department. This is for city hall.
Yep, that's a good point.
And I'd go as far to say, I bet you as much as a third of that total amount is for city hall.
I don't know if it'd be a third, but I think
Well, there is.
there are, because bathrooms and that are going
Right.
to, right, and electrical.
It'd be a substantial amount and stuff, so.
Yep.
So, does that need to say police remodel and city hall
I
on the
think
on the
so.
line
Well, okay.
item, so that there's no confusion, so nobody can say, well, you only spent 23 on the police part of it.
And the reason
I agree from back here, back of the room, definitely.
so the reason we're saying police remodel is we have this set up in phases. So we're looking at the police side, the boardroom, or the board of Aldermen room, and then the city hall is the office for staff. So that's why I refer to it as police remodel.
And then when we get to the city hall remodel, it'll say city hall remodel. So it'll be covered, and it's great to make sure that our constituents know what you're saying. So good
Right.
cover. Nice job.
Yeah. So we just communicate that, same as, we try to get that out there, that it will also benefit the rest of
Right.
this building. It just won't be as visible.
There will be some crossover from the different remodel projects. This is just labeling for in-house use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, for the fire department, they want to paint the fire building. That's $45,000, and they have turnout gear, which you'll see turnout gear every year. It's just to keep up, we have to keep up with that. Are you all okay with those
Yes.
numbers?
Yep. Yes.
The fire chief talked about setting money aside for apparatus in the future, new fire truck. I don't know if that's, I know.
We actually had set an amount aside that
we
we were
used to.
doing every year, and
Yeah,
I
we
think
used to
that's
have an amount.
probably hasn't been communicated to you that we were.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually-
we were using money from the PIVA rent to do that, and
Right,
now we
that's-
don't have that.
Yeah, so that's gone. I think we can look at, and the chief has given me that breakdown. Some things apply, some things don't, I think, but there was a $20,000 amount that was
Right.
always set
That
aside.
was a figure we talked about.
What I want to wait for is I want to see what the financials come back from the auditor. We may do an amendment and then set that money back. It's listed. I mean, we know it's there. It would
Okay.
eventually come out of general fund.
Right.
So we'll keep track of that, but I have not included that this year because I've got other things coming out that I think are more important, and I don't know what that number's going to be at the end of our budget year that I can probably take and push over to keep that going, keep that building. I think we're at 60,000 now. And you're right, if we don't save,
Yeah, we have to.
$700,000 fire truck is gonna,
Well, we had a big, it was a heartache.
Yeah.
We don't want to have that happen
Right.
in the future.
Could we back up and stuff, not necessarily the PIVA building and stuff, even though I've asked for more and stuff, but the future sale of any assets, because I know we have a pending sale of a $150,000 asset. Can't we move those assets immediately, once they go to the general fund and get them back into the proper fund, that we're not, allowing this money just to set in the general fund? Because I had Sue compile some numbers here and stuff. Over the last 10 years, our general fund balances went from $436,000 to over $1 million. And that's what I didn't get a chance to come down and talk to you about, was about all of those fund balances and how those affect our overall, financial picture, our reserves and stuff. And I still want to do that, but because I'm having a hard time, here, we're going to lose about $450,000 from the end of 20 fiscal year to the end of 21. And that's still leaving $325,000 out of the PIVA money into that fund. So to me, we're losing, $450,000 plus another $325,000. How are we going to replace that if we move to do this again next year out of our reserves? That looks like a big number to come up short. But,
until I get into next year's budget.
right.
We'll see what we're able to do. I think if we can pull it out this year, I think we'll be able to do the same thing next year.
Right.
But we'll see.
I hope so, but I'd still like to see whenever we sell an asset, a major asset like that, that money already be transferred. These things kind of skew our overall financial, ability, because it's no secret for the 5 years that we collected rent on that PIVA building, that money disappeared into the general fund and was used to balance our budget. And now we have nothing for it, except half the price of the building.
And a business out there, but one thing that the only reason we're doing the PIVA building the way we're doing it is because the money to buy the PIVA building came out of the capital fund.
Right.
But any other assets weren't paid for out of the capital fund. So they're not necessarily earmarked to go back into the capital fund. They do come in as general revenue because it's general revenue from sale. But we're not obligated to put that back in the capital.
So you're saying that
The PIVA money, yes, because it came out of there, so it should have went back, anything we got out of it should have went back in there. But any other assets we sell, we didn't take money out of our capital fund to pay for to begin with.
So we got the whole property of the industrial park for nothing, and the road, and the water lines,
It
and
didn't
sewer
come out of
lines?
the capital account, I don't believe.
I don't know. It's just that when we have a windfall of that, it's easier to save that for something coming up in the future than it is to generate that income, to produce something of a major project. It's harder to do it then, but if you have that money in hand, it's easier to use it for something, I think.
As long as we show the set aside, and again, we can move it to capital projects, but it's still a general fund amount, so it can go to anything.
Right.
So we can reflect that whenever we sell the 5 acres out there.
Right.
But we would, we bring it to the board to make that adjustment.
I agree with Joe, and I think that needs to be on a basis, a sale-by-sale basis, basically. I don't feel like just saying, well, we need to put it in this fund, or we need to move it to that fund. I think each time we can talk about it, and it's,
I mean.
we have a bad year, then maybe it needs to stay in the general fund. I don't think there should be just a general.
Or that's
it
where
goes.
this year's 20,000 for the fire department can come from the sale of that property, instead of putting it back into the capital. I mean, I'm not saying it has to go back into the capital, or it has to stay in general, but that sale out there is different than the PIVA building sale, because the PIVA building money definitely, that I know for sure, came out of the capital fund. And the reason we did that was to get a business out there, which we still have, and now that, it's generating some money, so we gotta look at the big picture, not just the small one. So, I mean, the sale of that is, property out there is where we could get the financing for the fire department for this year. Instead of putting it in general revenue, we can give them the portion that we would've gave them out of our other property issue,
Yeah, you'll decide that when it sells.
Right.
We're getting closer to closing. So, painting the fire building and turnout gear.
Yes.
Yes?
Yep. Thanks.
Okay. For Toby down at the Tourism Center, new laptop and Adobe software for $3,000, and then COVID marketing, which we've been approved, as he told you earlier, for $30,000. We're good with that.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right, moving down to the dedicated funds, master plan improvement. So this is the money that was generated by the cell tower, and we had some money this year that was started early with the cell tower. So what we're looking at eventually is, with this money, we haven't earmarked what we're going to do with it for the parks yet, but you're looking at seeing a master plan here soon. So they're going to want to do something in one of these areas. But to do something in one of these areas, we're going to need an expert to help us work out what those details are. So you're probably not looking at a physical improvement for this whole money. You're looking at getting a group in here to help us decide how to fund this. What do they want to start with first, which is what the park board's going to do, which area, and then how are we going to fund that? What do we need to do? What are the sources that we can look at to get that funded? And how do we design it? Who do we bring in to design? That's going to be another one of those things that we look at. So this money, you may be eventually dedicating that for a loan, so that you can do a bigger project and then pay that off over a few years, and then do the next part, and then same kind of situation. But anyway, that's what, at this point, this has not been dedicated to anything in particular except to work on the master plan, and there'll be other things that the park will want to do. So you'll probably have a few thousand of that that's spent on something else. So are we good with the 19,003?
It's good.
Yeah. All right, for the street department, we've got a dump truck bed, just a bed to replace, a new lawnmower, 24-foot trailer, and then we'll get into street projects. Did I bring the street projects? I set those at your desk?
No, except last week.
Last week, if nothing's changed.
Thought I included that. No, I did not include that. Okay. Let's pause.
Pause. Mike's up there drinking his tea,
Drinking is what?
or whatever that was.
Unleaded.
So you can sleep tonight, right?
It's not quite happy hour here.
Yeah, there you go.
We called the timeout, Mike.
We're on pause.
What's that?
Said we called the timeout.
Yeah. We got a lot on this other side too, I think.
Is it me?
That wasn't me. That could have been me. I don't know.
close in front of the camera, can you see it?
Oh, jeez.
Well, yeah.
Wait, you gotta hold it still. Get a little shaky.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
I have mine, I think it's laying out on the dash.
Yeah,
I'll
mine's in
email
my
it
box.
to you real fast.
I don't think anything's
Oh,
changed.
thanks, man.
You're welcome.
My box. My box.
Yeah, we're gonna get my box.
Go ahead.
I got one.
Oh, you get one?
That's in that new employees manual, you gotta give your box.
So,
Fire hazard.
so we've got a number of projects we think are, that I have made recommendations on, talked to Gary about, got me the numbers on them. No, we have not got a price on 9th Street yet, still waiting on that one. We originally wanted to do all of 4th Street just to finish up what we've already completed, but it's just too expensive. So we broke that down into Wiener to Riverview. But you see the recommendations, whether it's 2.5 inch or it's 3 inch. 3 inch I think is important for our main roads. If it's a side street, 2.5 inch will work. So you've got my recommendations on which ones I think we should do, which is over what our budget is of $175,000. That means you're tapping into whatever the reserves are that are left in the street budget at this time. But I think if you want to get some roads done, we didn't do any this year. Try to get as many roads as we can completed. If you want to add anything on, it just means you're getting into your reserve amount. And at this point, we're sitting at 503,000, so you're looking at less than 500,000 for your end balance on that fund.
Boy, I drove 9th Street. I mean, I've driven all of these now, and 9th Street, I really wish we had an idea. How much more would that, I mean, I know it's cheaper if you decide and get them all done, but if we would decide to add that on later as a budget amendment, how realistic would that be?
Probably, it's going to be 65 to another 75,000.
Okay, I had written down 43 for some reason. I thought-
Gary, come to the podium.
Gary, come to the podium.
I got some questions about 9th Street.
Right, I do too.
Yeah, well,
So your $47,000 number was basically just overlaying.
Yeah, yeah.
That's, Buck? Overlaying's a question there to me.
Have you ever been on 9th Street when it rains?
many times.
It's that middle section of it, down there below Washington, it's horrendous. And it's
Right.
ponds, it's floods, it's,
Yep.
you know, and there's a lot of water comes down that street. Because it's heading to that ditch in the sewer down there, or the drains, the storm sewer down there, so.
Yeah, the biggest question I have on 9th Street is width. You know, if we're talking just an overlay, or do we delay it and rebuild the street like we have on a couple of the streets here in town, Westwood and your opinion, Gary?
I don't know that you have the property there to make it any wider,
Right.
you know, because on both sides of that street, the houses are close.
Yeah, they're on it, they're right on, that trailer is right there on the street.
Okay.
There is property where the cemetery is, you know, but the other side, there's a retaining wall
Right.
that you'd have to get into, so.
Yeah, but we don't know where the property lines are there.
So if you want us to look at the storm sewers and width of road and some recommendations, we could, it wouldn't be as much as repaving, but we could include some engineering fees and have that reviewed and try to get, recommendations on how to smooth it out and get it, straightened out, fix the bad parts, what are the issues that we're gonna be facing, we're gonna have to do something on the sides. I mean, we could do that.
Yeah.
And then we'd be ready for the next year.
And I'm not opposed to doing some of it, at the top of the hill would be good for an overlay, but that section between Washington and where
Jefferson.
Jefferson comes in, that's a nightmare in there. And
Yeah, Mike-
I just don't want to patch something and then
Right.
a few years from now, the asphalt's washed down into the ditch, because it's ugly in them.
Well, my
Somewhere I got
concern is
pictures of that.
Not just a rough road, it's safety. You know, the school bus is trying to get out on, to 9th Street, from Washington, from trying to get out on, 9th Street out on the Market, to just get out of there to free traffic up and stuff. I don't know, the safety issue is my concern.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna take some redesigning then, so.
And if you want to waive Parkwood into North 9th Street, we can, that's.
I'd like to look at North 9th, I don't know how bad that is. How's the hill on North 9th Street there?
It's not super rough. It's starting to, show its age and cracking and.
I think if you could probably do it all at one time if you ever decide on that.
Mhm.
So, I'm like you, Bob, I don't wanna just overlay that.
Yeah,
It's a mess. I mean,
That's not
Hey,
traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
So, also, my thoughts in general, it's not a specific comment to anyone's street, but whatever we can do to mitigate or avoid the cedar situation where, we repaved and then we caused water runoff quicker than normal. So how do we incorporate that into the cost? Do we need to add engineering dollars for that?
is there, even on that street, I agree with him, I look at that, there's a lady that lives on the corner of Washington and 9th. At one time, somebody had to put a curb in there. We have to recurb it because the school buses are on it and flatten it out, and the water comes down into her yard. But the problem is, across the street, there's a storm sewer. There's a drain pipe over there that's just clogged up, and it goes under and it's collapsed in her yard. So it's just, there's so many issues to look at down there, then we just,
So it's gonna be one thing leads to another and be a bigger price.
It would be a
It
band-aid.
seems like we could easily add 3 inches of asphalt to a street and speed the water flow up and cause somebody a lot of grief if we're not careful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just gotta be mindful of that down in there. on that street.
Gary, another question is, up on the hill, from Wiener on up and stuff, if we overlay that, that's been oiled and chipped the last time anything was done. And you can look at it, you can see if we make it a nice big slick pavement off that hill there, I don't know, I have concerns about safety there.
As far, being slick in the winter or.
Any or rain or,
We're talking about the same type of pavement that's on Biltmore,
Yeah, all our, it's,
on Washington Street. We got hills that have asphalt.
Not like that hill. I don't think that's probably the steepest grade in town, isn't it?
Biltmore's pretty.
I built with that little Biltmore coming
right.
up, that's a
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I don't, my whole point on that is you've got, I want to not spend the $25,000 that the special roads is going to give us. I want to see it, and that flat part up there is perfect timing because they're tearing that street up, the water department is, placing the sewer line, or water line, so, and that hill was just, and you get there again, that's a main connector. There's so much traffic that goes up that hill, out to the park, out to the people that live out that way. I know they're county residents, but there's a lot of traffic. And that's what we've always done in the past. When we started paving, we've hit main connectors, Main Street. This needs to be finished out here. Special Roads did a part of it, but it's never been finished. So those main connectors, and then you go from there. So,
Yeah.
but and then there's a lot of over in your neighborhood. There's a lot of all those side streets over there. But there again,
Feel free to just scratch this and do my entire neighborhood, please.
yeah, but the problem over there is the base. They weren't put in right, and you put asphalt on. Yeah, you'll get some time. We'll be all right, us older folks, but you'll be dealing with it again.
And also what happens is the sidewalks disappear when you do that. The more you add to the street, the shorter the sidewalk gets. So.
flood in there.
That's always gonna be a problem, right? So,
I got a question about Parkwood. When I first joined the board, there was some discussion going on about Parkwood and Bosler Drive.
extensions, yes.
Was it to connect them?
Well, it was to take, actually was to take Parkwood all the way out to the
Progress.
plan.
Progress.
The plan is for that to go out to Progress and Bosler to come in and connect to that and then go out to, that's a plan, but there's,
Okay, I didn't know, because that talk was kind of wrapping up in my first couple of meetings, and wasn't a lot for me to contribute there, so I wasn't quite sure about that. But is there any progress to that plan in the foreseeable future, that it wouldn't make sense to do Parkwood just yet, because if the extension does go in, you'll have all those trucks driving on it and...
yeah, that's a good point there. There's hope for that to happen, but, and there was a lot of
Actually,
discussion, but,
It'd probably be better them to run on an overlay than the concrete that's there. On the extension there.
Pushing it.
Yeah.
and my question on that street is if you put an overlay on that,
It's a mill pay.
it's okay, because otherwise you're gonna have a nice asphalt and it's gonna do this.
No, it would be milled and
Milled and
level and wedged.
Yeah. I'm sure Mike would like to see that happen.
Well, actually, I would like to see it, but I have a few people in the ward that do not want to see it happen, and they have good reason for that, so.
You're talking about the extension?
Yes, sir, I'm talking about the extension.
We're just talking about overlaying that street right now.
Right, sorry, guys, the doorbell ringing. But, no, I think with regard to Parkwood Extension, I have a lot of people that would like to have some discussion and give some comment about traffic flow. I got a lot of good input about that. I'd like to have some discussion in the ward about it.
Yeah, we will. We'll talk about that. Yep.
Okay.
So if we, on the 6 that are recommended, if we tonight say, yeah, that's our plan, and this is the dollar amount, and later we have a discussion and figure, for instance, it would be better to wait on Parkwood. Can we just say, okay, now we're gonna look at 9th, now we're gonna look at something else?
What we'll do is, we'll go out for bid to get all of these streets done at the same time. So once we put that bid out, you can't change your mind at that point.
But as far as the budget goes, we're only proving an amount. The rest, I mean, how we spend that money comes at a later meeting anyways.
Right, but if you're giving me the okay to go with these streets, you want me to come back then just before we go out for bid and say, all right, are you sure you want these streets? And then we go over this again. Or we're gonna put it out for bid and say, here's the streets, lengths, widths, this is what we need done, we need a bid. Then we bring the bid back to you all. If you want to then parcel that up, you can. I'm not sure how happy the contractor would be.
Yeah.
But that's your option at that point, because our bids always say we can accept the full bid or we can cut it up if we want to.
Do we prioritize the streets that are approved? This
Yeah,
one
I
first,
agree.
this one second, so that if there are changes to how we want to budget it later?
My thought would be, because prioritizing, we're just going to put out a bid and go with that bid, and that's everything. So it all gets, so like Biltmore and LaPorte need to be done, and we'll have a little bit extra money coming in, because it'll be from the water jobs. But those streets have got to be done
Yeah.
because of the water line project.
So the bid is all encompassing of whatever streets we improve. It's not a single bid for LaPorte or Biltmore individually. It's every street that we approve on this plan
Right.
will be encompassed by the bid.
Kind of like the water program that we have, water construction we have right now. I mean, it's for these streets. We have one bid come to you, didn't break it down as to how much it costs per street. No, it was the whole project. That would be my intention. Because what we're trying to do is get the contractor in, mobilize once, get them to jump around to the streets, and then they're out.
Okay.
I think we save money that way.
Be more efficient, even just from a community perspective.
Do we have any idea when you talked about, a possible street, like we've done Rozier and some of the other ones where we went in and rebuilt the street curbings and our stormwater. Any idea what those type of engineering fees are?
Not offhand, I don't, I would say 20 to 30,000. It depends on how elaborate it has to get. If it's a fairly simple plan, it may not have been, may not have been that bad. What's the street that's not Rozier, but what's the one that's over from Rozier?
Portis.
Portis, yeah. So it's something like that. And that probably wasn't too difficult because there isn't a lot, it isn't real complicated, but it's a nice concrete street.
I think Rozier was completely rebuilt from the base up and stormwater,
Okay.
but bigger street and stuff, but just like to have an idea of what those engineering fees would be.
I can get an estimate. Yeah, I can ask somebody to come by and say, hey, what do you think this is going to cost for engineering fees? And I'll find out. Yeah.
Any more discussion on the streets?
But we are just talking about approving a dollar amount, not exact projects yet.
I'm talking projects, because if I go out for
Yeah.
bid, I need to
Right.
know.
Yeah.
We need to figure
But
project.
this is next year.
Well, this is this budget year, so it
Right.
starts October 1. I'll go out for bid December, January, and then we'll have work done spring or summer.
As soon as we get the weather.
So
Right, because
whatever
the past couple of years, we've done it towards fall, which,
Yeah.
but,
Is it better to do it towards fall? I mean, is it?
well, I think that's
It's a
just
better
whenever we
idea of
seen
our
where our finances were, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if you,
Right.
and if that's how you want me to proceed, I will. But last time, we moved from one budget year to the next, and that's what's caused us some problems this year.
Right.
Well, and waiting to the fall, would that cause an issue with the fiscal year if there's some delays in the
That's what caused us
planning
problems.
and stuff?
Well,
I think
the
we
biggest
probably-
problems are gonna be on that is waiting with the water line project already being done,
Right.
without patching it till fall.
I propose we go with the recommended and move forward.
I agree.
Any other-
Hey, I had one more question. With regard to Bob's comment on engineering and those fees, I mean, would we make that a part of any kind of requirement where we ask for a recommendation for drainage right up front? Is that, would that be included?
Are you talking about with the streets that we're talking about now?
Yeah, I'm just talking about any kind of engineering, like to add that into any kind of RFQ, some narrative that says, hey, we must address the impact on stormwater drainage with this plan.
So if you, no, we're not including that. My intention is to do mill and pave, so we keep it at the same elevation, we don't increase it. Because I'm trying to avoid those issues, but if we wanted to address all of the stormwater issues, we'd have to hire an engineer to come in and do the elevations, figure out what our issues would, or possibly could be.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't suggest we do that, I just wanted clarification, so I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a difference between just water runoff issues and stormwater drainage, where you're actually putting in pipes and curbing and,
Right.
actual drains and stuff, but
But what we've ended up with is, because we've increased,
Elevation, yeah.
we ended up with Cedar having some problems with neighbors. So I want to try to avoid that. So when we did our quotes, it's like, well, get a mill and pave. The whole thing gets milled. So you take out all of that, not all of that, you take out 2 to 3 inches of that pavement, and then you go back with 2 to 3 inches of new pavement. So it gives you the same elevation that you're at now. So you're not raising it where it goes over that curb, or it goes over that sidewalk, or it goes in a different direction to that person's yard. Try to avoid the issues that we're bumping into now.
Yeah.
And again, this all comes back to you, approved, whatever contractor comes in with the low bid, or responsible, blah, 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 for what's in the purchasing ordinance.
I think we're all for, approving an amount.
Is Cedar Lane gonna be done right away? Or what?
Yes.
Cedar Lane is in the water bid. The other streets,
Yeah, it should be done by November.
like the other streets, the Biltmore and the Report, that's all just patching money they put in there, so we can apply it to this. So when I say we have a budget of $175,000, it may be more if Cedar Lane doesn't cost as much, because that will be coming out of the water fund. So I may have some more money to bring to you. Not gonna be, hundreds of thousands, but it will
Well,
be a
yeah,
little
make
extra.
sure it's hundreds of thousands. Yeah. Right, Gary?
What's the matter?
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
So you need an approve on all these street items then? The dump truck bed, lawnmower, all that?
Yeah,
I suggest yes on all those.
Yeah, I concur. Yeah.
Okay.
Which takes our street total
Hey,
to
Gary?
the 245, 947.
I did have another question.
That's how we're gonna adjust this, is that correct?
yeah.
Thank you.
You had talked about you wanted to keep a mower because it had some attachment on it.
Right.
What is that attachment? I mean, could it be added to this mower?
No.
Or
It's a turbine blower that'll only work on a front mount mower. The deck comes off and this goes in place of the deck and the belting system. It won't work on a zero turn. Anything else?
Okay, all right. Tourism tax. This is for marketing. Tourism decides how they want to spend it, but we need to approve that they can spend $17,000. You're all good with that?
Yes.
Special road districts, we're gonna get 25,000 in, and the mayor says if I don't spend the 25,000, he'll take it out of my paycheck.
That's right.
All right. So,
Try to get more than that.
Contract labor?
oh, contract labor with, cemetery tax. So with the cemetery, we want to contract that out for either a year, 2 years, 3 years. We'll figure it out. Are you all okay with that?
Yes, absolutely.
We're offsetting that by not paying anything into our street parks department.
Yeah.
And then we just gotta keep on. Okay, thank you. North Fourth Street, 25,000. You good with that?
Yes.
Water mains. So for the water department, we've got water mains. We're estimating about 350,000. We will have the consolidated plan at the next work session. We'll be able to go through that. We're putting this number in, plugging it in at this point. This may be a budget adjustment. I'm hoping it's down, but who knows? But we're saying 350,000, so we have something to work with, and I think that's gonna be relatively close. Computer upgrade. These are for some desktops and laptops that they have in their different areas. Water tank maintenance, 1-ton service truck, water well cleaning, and utility software upgrade. Are you all okay with those expenditures?
Yes.
For the sewer department, we have sewer main improvements. We're estimating about 120,000. We have not listed what those are yet, so we'll have to bring those to you. Camera trailer. This is so they can get in and look at what's going on in the sewers. And utility software upgrade, since it's water sewer, we're splitting it in half. So it's the other half of it.
Yes.
And by the way, this utility software upgrade will give us the opportunity to be able to send bills by email. So I thought of going to the paper billing. We may not do that. We may end up doing more through this system as an upgrade to our current software. All right, for debt service, which is the half-cent sales tax, which we do have some debt that we're paying, that's listed in there. At $207,390. We can pull money out for the PD remodel for $210,000. So this is the police department, bathrooms, anything you see at that doorway going that way. It's a major project. It's phase 1 of anticipated 3 for this building. I think we've got the.
But that affects
We know what the water
Right.
problems are. We've got those
Exactly right.
located and what the issues can be, and we still have a few things we want to look at, but just to get that part of the building done, we feel it's important, and that's the best part to start with. Are you all okay with
Yes,
that?
yes.
So are we just staying with 2 restrooms for the entire building?
No, we'll have 2 restrooms that will face this way, and then there'll be a restroom for the police department that's back in their section.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Rural Fire Fund. We're looking at a 1-ton truck. It's a brush truck, but they're not getting the brush equipment, they'll just transfer it. That's a major savings. And we have a fire hose grant that we've applied for. The chief's hoping to hear something soon, but we don't know. But our thought is put it in now, you're looking at, we're saying 80,000. 80,000 is what we'll expend. We're looking at 75,000 in, 5,000 out to replace all the hoses on the trucks for the fire department. You can't beat that potential. So are you all okay with the 52,000 and the 80,000?
Yes.
And then the retaining wall on Washington Street, again, after looking at the plans, estimating the construction's gonna cost us about 65,000
You got
Our
what you got
engineer
to do.
estimate that originally at 28,000.
for the wall only. And now we've gotten into repatching the street, doing curbing, so it'd be a concrete curb that would run down from the back of her property down to the corner, so that we can keep that water from going into her house. We also have problems with water infiltration that way. So if we keep ours on the street as best we can, she can work on what's on her outside wall and try to get that water away and also down towards the street.
How do you deal with her garage?
So what we're looking at is cutting back, this is why some of the costs have gone up, we're gonna cut back probably about 2 or 3 feet into that driveway, put a 2-inch lip along the street, and then gradually it will work its way up into her garage. So there isn't that sudden rush of water coming down. With that rise, it should keep the water in the street and work its way down towards the corner. That was one of the concerns of the engineer.
Okay.
So you guys are okay with this?
Yes.
All right, so we will have a completed budget at the September 10th meeting.
Perfect.
So we are not meeting next Wednesday, the 2nd?
We're not. You all have done your jobs. I know you may have some questions still between now and then, but
Ready for your
this is
releases.
what we'll put in as our final numbers and bring that to you on the 10th.
Yeah. Are you done?
Wow!
Okay, if you're done, if there are any
Mr. Lee
questions.
has something he wants to ask.
No, you don't have nothing. I call this meeting here. We're adjourned.
I'm hot.
Oh, darn it, somebody has to ask Sue something, so I have to stick around.